Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Sofa Sports Report. I'm this guy on the couch, and this week we will start off with the BCS Championship Game, which is tonight, the night that I'm recording this. But for you in future times, it will have passed already. It would be January 7th. It's between number 1 Notre Dame and number 2 Alabama. It's the resurgence of a Notre Dame team that past few years just hasn't been relevant versus the dominant SEC team. Bama's only loss this year came to Johnny Football in Texas A&M, which we all know Johnny Football, or Johnny Manziel, won the Heisman. But after that loss, Alabama put up 98 unanswered points against their next two opponents, and then they played Georgia in the SEC Championship Game and won 32-28 or something like that. Notre Dame, what can you say? They've been doing phenomenal this year. Undefeated. They had a few close games, like against Stanford and against Pitt, to name a few, but they always managed to pull it out. They have the best red zone offense and the best red zone defense, which will make for a great game tonight, or for you in the future, was a great game. Let's talk about the NFL playoffs really quick. We all know Wild Card Weekend happened already, but I'm going to cover the divisional rounds, where it's Baltimore-Denver Saturday at 4:30 Eastern Standard Time. Ray Lewis, this could be his last ride for sure now. He declared that after this playoff season, he's going to retire. So, with that being said, he's going to Denver. Ravens are probably going to lose because Peyton Manning and Denver Broncos have been red hot. I think their last loss was in Week 5. I'm taking Denver in a blowout because they're going to be fresh and they're not old and they're going to be flying. Next game, Green Bay and San Francisco 49ers. Yes, that's right. We're going back to the 90s where that was a huge rivalry come playoff time. On paper, they look almost identical. Green Bay, as we all know, made Adrian Peterson and the Vikings look one-dimensional, where they took out the run game, and we all know Christian Ponder had a little elbow issue, some tennis elbow, I think. Maybe it was rub and tugs. But I mean, what can you do? Webb looked like shit. Packers won. Alex Smith or Colin Kaepernick, it doesn't matter who's in quarterback for the 49ers. They'll find a way to win. That's right, I'm saying 49ers, and that game's Saturday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Then there's also the Battle of the Birds. You got Seattle and Atlanta Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Falcons defense will be too much for Russell Wilson. Falcons will fly past them, no problems. Then there's a rematch of a week. I can't remember the week, but it was a blowout between Houston and the Patriots. That game will be Sunday at 4:30. Houston seeks revenge after a 42-14 ass whooping. That's right, they opened up a can. Done. But I don't see that happening. I see the Patriots too much. Talks of Gronk being back, so it's going to be a two-headed tight end monster for the Patriots. And best news of all happened Sunday in the wee hours of the morning after a 16-hour negotiation. NHL is coming back. That's right. There's a tentative collective bargaining agreement, which I will kind of break down for you really quick. What it is a 10-year deal with mutual opt-out clause after 8 years between the players and owners, which they're saying after 8 years, if they get pissed off at each other and both sides see fit, they can just call it and we'll have another lockout, if you will. But before I go any further, this still needs to get majority approval by the Board of Governors, and that is set to be done on Wednesday, which is the 9th. And in this CBA, there's, for the free agency, if teams are re-signing a player, it's 8 years that they can re-sign him for the maximum amount for years on one team. If it is a free agent, and say like Vancouver is going to take a player from Winnipeg, it's only a maximum years of 7. Then we go to the salary cap, so that was a big deal. First year cap for the rest of this year will be $60 million each team. And then next year, starting in 2013, 2014, it will be $70.2 million, with a minimum for everything $44 million. So no team could have a lower payroll than $44 million. None of them could have more than a $70.2 million deal. Let's see here. Contract salary variance is capped at 35% from year to year, with provisions that the last year can't vary more than 50% from the highest salaried year, which just basically says you can't have a front-loaded contract, you can't have a back-loaded contract. So for all those guys that have like an 8-year deal, you can't have the player getting $20 million in the beginning and next to nothing at the end. It has to be even throughout, which is good for the players and good for the teams, I guess, if they get someone that does really good in the middle and that towards the end. Free agency is set to be start this year later on in July because of the late season. The postseason will stretch to mid to end of June instead of early mid-June. It is, I was going somewhere. But after this year, I know where I was going with this. After this year, free agency will still be January 1st, unlike the owners where they want it to be January 10th. Or, not January, I'm sorry, July. Too many months with the J's in there, I get confused. In the CBA, there's nothing about the Olympics. It said that the Olympics participation will not be part of this agreement. The two parties will work on side agreements regarding the Olympics and possibly the World Cup of Hockey later on. So, as of right now, we don't know if the NHL stars will be in the Olympics like they were a few years ago or not. It's up to be decided. January 19th is the tentative start date for a 48-game season this year. Like I said already, the postseason will stretch to the end of June. And with that being said, the 113-day lockout has ended. Players all over the world, come back to where we need you in the NHL. And this has been your Sofa Sport Report.